All right, everyone, welcome back to the channel where today we are going to be going over a game that we played a ton of as a kid, and that is The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. So, without further ado, I'm going to throw it to Bradley. Brad, what
Okay.
do you remember about this game?
All right. Well, I'm gonna go through what I remember before. Obviously, we revisited the game. So the one thing I remember was the little fairy thing, right? Couldn't
Navi?
remember. Well,
Navi.
I remember it
The Navi
now,
or
but
Navi?
I'm saying when I before revisiting it, couldn't remember her name, and I remember her being extremely irritating. I remember getting lost a lot. I remember there's a dude that you had to race like in the field, and I could never beat him. I remember when I would ride the horse, and I know I'm going through a lot of like the deep cuts here, but I remember when you would ride the horse, I would always mistime how you'd eat the carrots, right? And that always would mess up. But overall, I remember loving the music and just feeling like the game was massive. Like there was so much to do, to the point where, not to kind of take away from what you guys remember, but revisiting it now, it still is kind of massive and easy to pick up and feels like a full on Hyrule, right? Feels like a full on world. That's kind of what I remembered. And yeah, we can get into the later experience, I guess, after. What about you, Jared?
So I always remember the Hyrule Field was like massive. It was like the first open world thing that I remember. I mean, compared to now, it's not really open world, but that's what I remember. I remember it being really big. I remember that prick that stood in front of the little, you have to leave, and he kind of like sidesteps. I remember that guy. I don't
Yeah.
know why. I always remember that guy, and he pisses me off to this day. Going back to that and seeing that,
His
he just made
his
me.
lateral movement is
You
great.
know what? He has great footwork. I mean, Richard would know. Rich played left tackle, and I would say
Yeah.
I think he has better footwork than Richard.
Oh,
And
I would
The thing is,
agree.
Richard could pivot. Richard would also for a stint played right tackle. I don't know
Mm.
if you remember that. He did switch to the right side, wasn't as good, but this guy's movement, I remember him. He
Wasn't really
he
good
made
on
me
the
nervous.
right though. He's more of
Yeah,
a
Richard was not a
Yeah.
right.
I'm
He
more of a
wasn't.
pass protection kind of
Yeah,
guy
you are.
too.
If you
You know
but
what I
the thing
mean?
is, if you go to run block, you can't. Richard does not like going
No.
forward.
No, actually, they take me out when it's a run play,
Oh
so you
yeah,
know it's a run play because I
yeah.
can't play. No, so similar to what you guys remember, I remember the game being massive. I remember it being epic. Like that's to me when we said we were going to do this one, I just remember okay, we're about to revisit something that was monumental, that kind of changed gaming as we knew it. At least that's what I thought we were getting back into. Brad,
Do you
yeah,
remember though? Let me ask you. Do you remember how we got the game? Do you guys remember? I remember the exact story.
was this
I
a
don't.
finger hut game?
So we got this for Christmas, and our grandmother ordered it through Finger Hut. If anybody remembers Finger Hut, I mean, whatever. So I remember we opened up all of our presents, and it was probably maybe an hour later, and our grandma comes out. She goes, "Oh, I got one more present," and she has it, and the present says "mine" on it. I always remember that. She put "mine." Like, what is that? Then I remember her opening and flipping it open, and it was Zelda. And that everything else we got, we could care less about. We
Mm.
ran over, and I remember our dad played it. We had to watch him for like the first hour. I always remember that, and I was like, "Come
And
on, when we
he's
get to
like
play."
out of all of us, and this is he's not on the the, the channel anymore. So let's
No,
roast. He's never been good at games, like at any of them. So it must have been the hardest
No, no,
hour of us.
no. Racing games, he's been pretty good at.
he's pretty good at racing games.
I
And
guess. I
Russian
mean,
Russian Attack, the one for I think it was NES. He was
to
really
be
good at that one.
clear, it's rush
Yeah, Rush and
and
Attack.
attack, not
Yeah,
Russian.
no, Rush and Attack.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah,
Okay.
Rush, letter N, Attack.
But
I know what it is, dude. Come on.
I'm just saying because
I
you've
probably
been
have it in there somewhere.
so Brad, we obviously revisited this. How many hours did you put in? Like playing this over, or what'd you do?
maybe 2 to 3. I think the farthest I got was with the big boulder dudes, like the dudes that kind of like
Oh yeah, yeah.
dribble into the ground, those big
What
heavy
were they
guys.
doing? What were they doing?
I think I don't. They're
What
the
was that?
heavier set green
Yeah.
guys, right? Um, but the one thing I would notice is, and Rich, you had called me and said, "Dude, like, how do we ever beat games without guides?" And we kind of
Mm.
what you said made me think the same thing. Like, I'm not going to look anything up, see if this game is a little bit more advanced. And to be honest, I think because games are so much like even Fallout, they have like a cursor telling you where to go. Or what's the most recent game, Jared, where you're in space, but by Bethesda?
Starfield.
Yeah, Starfield. I think, to be honest, it was kind of refreshing being like, figure it out. Or like where I said the little flying lady was irritating. She tells you where to go, right? She
Yeah.
helps you out. And I think, um, yeah, a couple hours into it, obviously you go through the Deku tree or whatever, like the
Mhm.
first. I guess you would call not temple, but first
I guess it's technically like a temple,
maze
right?
or
Yeah.
whatever you would call it. Um, the game kind of holds your hand, but does so in like a really smart way. Where like it doesn't feel like it's just exposition forcing it down to you. Like the intro is nice, right? When you see Ganon, and I mentioned this to Richard on a call earlier, is I was like, every single time I see the human form, like Ganondorf, I just picture him like he's just a huge System of a Down fan. Like just by his appearance, I just picture him. He's just like, yeah, that's my
He is
band.
not gonna lie, he is a little he's kind of scary looking. Like
He's
when you
kind
see
of
Yeah.
him,
douchey
and
and
like
scary looking at the same
there's
time.
that one scene where when you sneak in and you got to meet Zelda for the first time, and then he's in the castle
You
and
see
he's
him
Yeah.
like
through the
kneeling,
window.
and then he kind of looks through the window. I'm thinking, why would anybody let that creep and expect that creep to be on their side? Like you
Yeah.
could see scumbag just written all over him, but I
So
could see him being
Yeah.
menacing.
Jared, are you similar? You played a couple hours, 2, 3, 4
I
hours,
got
something
to
like that.
that part, trying to think, that was pretty much it. I when the girl outside, she's like singing.
She
She's
teaches
like
you the
singing,
song.
yeah, and you have to find her. You have to find her dad. I find her irritating. The little girl. You know what I'm talking about? You have to
The
find
little
her
girl you
dad.
got to find. Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
she's kind of she just keeps going.
At the castle.
She just keeps going. It's like enough already. I get it. And then
And the guy is sleeping, right? You got to
yeah, it kind
wake
of
him
looks
up
like
with a
Mario. It
chicken.
kind of looks like Mario. What he kind
Yeah,
of. I think that's
yeah.
what they were going for.
Kind of, yeah.
I saw that after he ran away. He ran away
Is
with
it
his
a little
arms like flail.
sweatier? A
Yeah,
little
his arms
sweatier than
flail
Mario.
like. Do you see the way his arms? It was weird.
Yeah, he
But
doesn't
I got
Yeah,
run.
I got to that part.
there was a couple things that I'm not gonna lie, I did cheat and look up a couple just like gameplay clips of like things that definitely jog my memory, like the lady or whatever it is walking, and you have to like get them off the thing, use a chicken to fly, I had to grab like the heart piece. I mentioned this to Rich as well, like the dude at the shop, and hopefully Rich, you can get a clip of this and put it on here, but the side, I think it's a guy, and you do the training and you shoot the rupees with the little
I think it's a
slingshot.
dude. Yeah, I think it's a
Dude's
dude.
got massive lips. Like his lips are huge, very plump. I don't know if he got like, lip injections or something. I don't think that was a thing back then. But yeah, just I guess a lot of things I noticed was it felt like I mentioned, it didn't hold your hand, but it made sense. You have some games where they're just like, oh, if you get wounded, you have to make sure you hit, and it takes you out of like the game. This felt very much like everything made sense in the universe, right? Like everything, like the little fairy flying around was never like obnoxious. Like I found her more helpful this time around. But then again, I used to watch you guys play because obviously, if people new to the channel, I'm clearly the baby brother. Jared's the middle, Richard's the oldest. I would watch them play a lot more. So to me, like I would watch you guys get frustrated or maybe follow, like Jared, you would follow Richard play it on a different save file. So like you'd be like, I know what to do. I know I got to go here. I got to crawl through the hole, grab the sword, whatever. Whereas to me, I was always kind of like smaller and dumber. Like I needed the assistance from the little fairy. So I didn't find her irritating this time. But I remember when we would first play it, we'd always be like, hey, listen. We were just like, I
Yeah.
hate that little
Yeah, her voice
thing.
is. I'd say her voice is annoying, but it definitely is helpful. And then I don't think I played this game because I know there's an HD version for like maybe the 3DS or something.
Yeah,
They
I
have a
haven't played
different.
that. No,
So I haven't played this game. Maybe Richard, you have. I probably haven't played this game since the N64 days. 20.
same, same with me.
So what? Well, maybe year 2000, maybe. So over maybe when it was 2024, 5 years. Um. So as soon as you turn it on, and it shows like the camera going across the grass, and you hear the music, and
Mhm.
he's riding the horse. It gets you jacked. It gets
Yeah,
you
Jared. To touch on that, you played on an old 64. Is that what you
64.
played
Yeah,
on?
yeah,
Okay, and I
N64.
played on my Switch with Nintendo Switch Online.
Yeah.
Um,
Same
So I don't
thing.
know
I
how the
had to.
controls are different. The
Yeah.
controls are pretty solid on the 64. It's just the camera's a little wonky. He's trying to get him in particular spots sometimes.
mhm.
Like at the very beginning, you have to get on the bridges, cross it.
Yeah,
That can
the
be a little
Well,
top
difficult.
top C
I
camera button's not great.
Yeah.
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 I felt like they knew that the camera was going to be a problem because even when you get to certain parts of the game, it'll tell you make sure you hit Z to
Yeah.
like always be looking the right way. Like they were very conscious about uh it's not the easiest thing in the world
Yeah.
to control. Now I was playing like I said on Switch Online, and so it's even worse when you're trying to use a newer controller. I do have the Nintendo Switch Online N64 controller. I just didn't want to open it up and use it, but dude, the controls were horrible. On the,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
kept hitting the wrong buttons.
I just
It was
thought
it
Well,
was
that's
it's
why
bad.
meant
it was.
it's
Yeah.
really meant for the 64 control. I mean,
Was
they
it?
would have
But
to.
was it? How was the? That's what I was going to ask you. Like on the
It's
Switch, it was
fine. I mean,
horrible.
no, it's fine. It's just like I said, sometimes the camera gets a little wonky, and then but they make it easier when you're fighting. You could lock onto a
Mhm.
opponent
Yeah, you hit
or
the
a
Z
bad.
button and you lock on.
You
You
kind of
can
do the
lock on.
strafing, right? Where it
Yeah,
kind of
and
keeps
so
you
that's pretty
centered.
cool. And
Yeah.
then also, if you aim with like the slingshot, you can go first person or you can go third person.
Mhm.
So they kind of help you out because, like you said, they probably knew the camera was garbage or the best they can do with the technology they had. So they did have little things that help you out with that. But I would say, other than that, the controls are fine. I think,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, I haven't really looked in detail on my control, but it might be the 64 controller that looks like a 64, but it's not actually Nintendo. Because you know how they have the fake
Yeah.
ones that look just like it. Because I bought the
Like
64
the
one.
Hyperkins and some of those
No,
ones.
but it looks just like it. It might be one
Mad
of those. It
Cats.
might be. I didn't even look at it that much. Yeah, Mad Cats, right?
Mad Cats. One
I
thing I wanted to.
do, Rich, real quick, I
Yeah, go for it.
do want to talk about what Jared mentioned, like how you can lock on. That is actually probably the number one thing I noticed was when I mentioned the game doesn't hold your hand. Like it doesn't tell you how to fight, but it kind of slowly, when you go into the Deku tree, it kind of like shows you like, hey, here's how you fight. Not every enemy's the same. Like to where like there's that like I don't know what the hell it is. It's like
It was like
some
a flower or something. What
yeah,
was
and
it?
it's like oh, if you hit it when he's upright, like it kills. So it kind of showed you like not every enemy is going to be the same. There's certain ways to do things. The little puzzle you got to light, like it wasn't like oh, if only something could open this door. Like you know what I mean? It was just kind of like figure it out. There's these torches here, and there's fire. You lit it, and then the door opened. It kind of turned your brain on to be like hey, this game's not going to hold your hand. Like, think outside the box. How are we going to get through this door? And like I said, we only revisited for a couple hours, but I'd be interested personally, me, to go back to the water level that I know
The
everyone
water temple,
hated
yeah.
or the water temple to see if it was really as bad as my 7, 8,
I
9 year old brain remembered.
I think
Um,
we had a Nintendo Power Edition that actually gave us the step walkthrough to get through that temple. I think that's how we initially got it, if I remember correctly. Because we did have
maybe.
Nintendo Power.
Yeah.
And so that yeah, we didn't get that far. That's when you're like an adult, I believe, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly.
Yeah.
One
Anyways, I think my
you
whole
go ahead.
point was just it didn't hold your hand, but did so like in a creative way that kind of showed you the control, like how you're going to use the control, how certain things are going to work. And nothing felt like forced. Like I know a lot of the games at the time, it was just like you hit a button, hack and slash, right? A lot of the games were on PlayStation that were like RPGs or whatever. Like this was other than Super Mario and Banjo, this was like the first game that kind of felt like an RPG for, I guess, Nintendo. So I don't know. It felt very like it felt like this is going to be a massive game, but also like we're not going to like spell everything out for you. Kind of like just enjoy the ride. That sounds so nerdy. Enjoy the ride, but
Yeah,
I
well,
that's
mean,
the way it felt. Turning it on 20
yeah,
years
just
later.
as soon as you turn it on, the music hits. It's like, oh man, I haven't played this
Yeah.
in 25 or
Yeah.
20, 25 years. And I hear the music and it brings you back to when you're a little child,
Yep.
like Christmas morning.
to your point, Jared, it brings you back and it makes you remember things. Like
Yeah.
video games for us back, I mean, even to this day, but for us back then, like they were a lot of who we were, right?
Yeah.
We would emulate things
It's
from the
everything I
game.
am.
Oh God. Emulate from the things from the game into real life. So remember when there was a time when I told you to go give me something or bring me
Oh,
something, and if you
yeah.
did,
I
you would get
wanted
a
to get to that.
reward.
I wanted to get to that.
And so the reward was
Yeah. The heart
the
piece.
heart piece, right? Like little things like that it started popping back up in my mind, and that's the beauty about kind of what we're trying to do
I
is
mean,
go back and revisit these games and kind of transport ourselves back in time with eyes from today, looking at how good is it really,
so
you know what I mean?
the one thing about Nintendo, like I was we're talking earlier today with our boy Teo, and we're talking about it. And as me being primarily more of an Xbox or Sega, you got to respect Nintendo. But what we were saying is even more. I know Xbox is the best. I don't care what everybody says, but you got to give credit where credit's due. Nintendo has the best. Their main characters are by far the best. I mean, you go Fox McCloud, you got Link, even Princess Zelda, you got Mario, Luigi. I mean, there's nothing compared to what Nintendo has.
Samus.
Yeah,
Donkey Kong,
yeah, exactly. You have all those.
Ice
So
Climbers.
okay, now you're going down the way. But they're this they just know how to, especially they don't have the third party support as other companies do, but when it comes to their in-house stuff, like there's just nothing like it. Like this game when it came out, was like the biggest thing. I'm pretty sure it was sold out. These are back in the day when the games could sell out. Nowadays, games don't sell out. You go digital, or most of them aren't even physical anymore. You'd have to get a digital, but this is back in the day when the games would sell out. And I remember the game was sold out. A lot of Toys R Us, you couldn't get them, and we had it. We got I don't because she ordered it months in advance, and we were like, "What are you doing?"
Bug bite.
Oh,
No,
you're
but
flexing or something.
no,
You're flexing.
this is
Yeah,
flex.
so I mean, going to that, I mean, there once you turn on, if you get the environment and the atmosphere like no other type of company gives you.
So, but speaking of atmosphere, are you guys? And I'm not like this, but I want to be. So maybe we do this in the future. Are you like, I'm going to turn on my old 64. I'm going to sit down with a Mountain Dew from back in the day, bag of Doritos, and just try and
What
maybe some
you know,
old
it's funny you
smelly
say that.
underwear or something. Try and really get that musk going.
You know
So
what's
you
funny? You
really
say that. You want to say that? You know what's funny? Is
what?
I was playing, eating a bag of 4-inch Doritos.
See,
I
there's
still have like
nothing
half in the
like
bag
the
right there.
early. What year did this come out? Late
I would
90s?
97, 98, something around that time.
I would
I would say it's
I mean,
assume
early life
97,
of
98.
it and
I
Nintendo
feel like
64.
that's when Cool Ranch Doritos launched. Maybe
Probably
one of us
somebody
can
can
look that
fact
up.
check that. You know,
Um,
so I did actually do that. So you are right when it comes to that. But as soon as you turn it on, it brings you back, and you can when you go in the first temple, I guess you would call it. Once you open the first chest and it does the music, and he lifts it, and it's
mhm.
just a map. I
Yeah.
mean, it got you
Or a
jacked up.
compass.
It
Yeah.
got you jacked up, and it was just a map. It's like, huh, that was
Yeah.
kind of worth it just to hear the music. You know?
Well, I mean, remember before this, the Zelda games were like top down, weren't they?
Yeah,
Weren't all of them top down at least?
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
And then
the
when
Zelda 2 was side scroller.
okay, and then but
And
then
top down for some. Yeah.
Yeah,
but point being, when you get this one and you're seeing all the stuff that you saw from the top down, but in like first
yeah.
person or third person, whatever, um, there's nothing like it. I remember even again now, like we have all these new Zeldas, and you still play this one, and you're just
This
like,
one's yeah.
it's
It's
just
either
it hits different.
it's either between this one or Links to the Past is the best one.
Well, before we get there, so we talked about kind of what we remembered. Um, how about when we played now? What was our impression of it now, today,
Okay,
after playing, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and
so
all of them. What are your thoughts now?
one thing I'll give it is the pacing. When it comes to pacing is big when it comes to movies or anything or games. The pacing on this was fantastic. I mean, it gets to the point like Brad said before. Little confused on why Link was he shivering on his bed? Was he having a nightmare? I was a little
He
confused
probably
on
wet
that.
his
I think he was
pants.
having like a nightmare. Yeah.
He's
Like he was
making all these noises.
premonition of what was
So
going to
the
happen. Yeah.
pacing's good. I mean, you get the fairy, the girl that has the hots for you comes over right away and like explains, "Oh, you got your
Oh,
fairy,
she
blah blah
wants
blah."
it too. She wants
Yeah, and
it.
then
Hmm.
okay, and it makes you feel because when she gives you her ocarina and she's like, "Play this, that," and then Link slowly backs away and turns around, and runs away. It's like, and it zooms into her face. You're like, "Oh man!" Like he wants her, and she wants him, but he's the
I didn't
hero.
watch it and take it that far.
No, but they like each other, but like they care for each other, but he can't stay because he has a higher
Yeah,
job adventure he has to do. So it
Yeah.
gets you the feeling like, and then it looks into her face, it's like you feel bad. But
I always thought he had the hots for Zelda, though.
going to the
I'm so
I
confused.
feel
no, but
like
going
Zelda was more of a
going,
duty. He should have just smashed this other girl and just left.
but the point is, the going into the pacing, it's great until always got to go negative. That
Bring it.
owl,
Bring the
that owl
negative.
sucks. The owl is horrible.
Yeah.
He
Not a
slows
fan.
the game down.
What don't you like? Okay.
That he slows the game down. He says the same crap over and over again. The music is god awful. And then he says, "Do you agree with what I'm saying?" You're pushing A, and you can actually hit. Do you want to hear it again? You can hit yes.
Yep.
And then he goes through the same crap over again. And then he goes, "See you later, Link," and he flies away. And then to me, he's like a knockoff owl from King's Quest.
Oh, Grim.
Yeah, exactly. So you know what I'm talking about. So I would say the pacing's fantastic until he's around. He sucks. If they got rid of him, because he doesn't really give you any useful information. He tells you, "Oh, daytime, it stays nighttime or whatever if you're in the top the town. But if you
Yeah,
go
I felt like
outside, the
anybody
entire
could
thing
have gave that
it's just
information.
like I don't
Yeah,
need you to
yeah.
stop
I
me
get
for
what you mean.
5 minutes
I
for
feel
that.
like you're just looking for a reason to be
Well, when
nasty.
a game is this great, you have to find a reason to complain. I mean, the camera is serviceable, and then this guy sucks, but not like some characters.
Yeah.
So you're mentioning when we revisited, the first thing I noticed was when you go through the town, and it obviously is the very beginning of the game, right? Where it goes to, what is it, Kakariko Village or whatever. Um, that's the graphics of the game, right? Like that's it. And it kind of showed you like, hey, this is what you get. Now it's not the greatest when you're playing it now, but like for the time, think about everything was rendered scenes, right? Especially on PlayStation. Let's say it was Final Fantasy. They'd have these badass scenes, and you're just like, oh, that's cool. And then you get to play the game, and you're like, what am I looking at? This was like the first game I remember that was what you see is what you get, which was, I don't know. I thought that was like really cool. And I don't remember that. Now, when you go to the town, some of it looks like
Yeah.
Donkey Kong Country,
Mhm.
like the
Pretty bad.
like the backgrounds, right? Where it's just whatever you would call it, like it's just a pixelated background, and then like you're a character moving around. But even then, mentioning the town, right? Like it feels like it's thriving. Obviously, now if you play like GTA or something, you're like, wow, that looks terrible. But when this came out, like I don't remember even me turning it on now. Like there was like one dude just like banging the ground. Like when you run by him, he's just like banging the ground over and over. And I'm like, what's he doing? Um,
Did you go there at nighttime?
dog
Did you
barking
go in
behind
the
me.
town at nighttime?
Well, yeah, the whole point being, it's just like it felt everything
No,
felt
but did
way
you go
more
to night
lived in
on?
than I remember.
But did you go to the town at nighttime?
I did not know.
There's a couple that just
Just
spin in
macking.
circles. They just spin in circles, and I even wrote it down in my notes. Like I was confused on what they were just.
Were they dancing?
I guess they
I
were
think that's
spinning.
what it was supposed to be.
And then
I
there's a
think I
guy. Then
remember.
if you go over to the corner, there's a guy in a window, and you can say something to him. And he's just there. Like
He's just
it's a little
peeping.
weird at night. Yeah, I don't know. It's a little weird at night.
Yeah, but Rich, when you revisited, what was the biggest thing for you? Since I think I cut you off, I think
No,
it looked
no,
like you were like,
that's
and I just
no.
like came
But I
right in.
froze.
He froze. Yeah, he's frozen, Rich.
No, but I was gonna say the same thing. Like graphically, it was pretty impressive until you get to some of those areas where you could see it. It looks like paint on a wall. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? There's
the
no
draw
depth to
distance.
it. Um, I remembered Epona. And when
Hmm.
I went back and saw her as a
Mhm.
little horse, she's adorable. Uh, and for me, like the thing that and again, I was playing on the Switch with a Switch controller, so part of that's on me. Controllers were just butt, like beyond bad.
All right, so not to interrupt, but what do you mean like the controls? Because on the 64, you just use like the right, like it's got the three weird things. You just use the one joystick. So on the Switch, do you have to use both of them to move?
No, so you would use I think it's the right joystick as the C stick. So instead of the
Okay.
four or C buttons, because it was a
Yeah.
C stick on the next one, right?
GameCube. Yeah.
GameCube.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the C button. So sometimes I would put the slingshot on like the bottom arrow, and I have to pull back, and it was just bad. Sometimes too, I was playing. You have to play the ocarina
Yeah.
with those
Yeah.
dudes and copy what they do to get like a heart piece or something. Well, because I had to use that as the C stick, I would push down, but sometimes it would be down and to the left a little bit, so it would air out. So again, it's my
It's
fault.
not
I have
meant,
an N64 Switch wireless controller. I didn't want to use it. I didn't want to open it. I'm an idiot. It's my fault. But
Why don't you
uh,
just go buy a used one that's already open, and so you can just play that
because they're
way?
probably just as expensive. Those things are
I
just,
mean, I didn't want to open it just to play one game, but
Oh,
that it is what it is. But I would say it ran nice on the Switch, no issues there. But
I was gonna say a really lame joke. I'm gonna be like, are you a fan of like keeping things sealed? Because like everything behind
oh,
you is just sealed.
oh yeah, all the stuff back there. But
Um,
overall, like revisiting it, I was thinking, wow, this is crap compared to the newer ones, realistically, which it should be. But to me, the story's like the most important part. And to your point, Brad, seeing the System of a Down loving guy Ganondorf walk through and all that stuff, like it was just cool to almost see him for the first. Well, I think is this the first time we see him in any game?
yeah, it's first time he's a human at least.
yeah,
And
he's like
it's like,
human in this one.
yeah. So the fact that we get to kind of see him and the story of what he's trying to do. The story was the best part, obviously. Graphically wasn't phenomenal, but for the time it was.
The
The
time is
control
amazing.
was not great, but the N64 controller was kind of wonky in general. Um, yeah, I mean, revisiting it, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Well, for this game, I disagree. I think that they took the controller a lot into effect, right? Because you said you're having issues with the right stick that's now kind of like your C
Like the
buttons,
C
depending
buttons,
on
yeah.
which direction you push. This game, like, if I remember, because obviously we didn't play very long and I have a lot of equipment, but like left, down, and right, like you can have multiple things selected. Now I know everyone had issues with like putting on your clothing, right? Like that's where I said like I'd be interested to review the water temple now because I remember the biggest thing we hated about it when we were playing it as kids is having to swap the boots, right? Like, oh, the iron boots or whatever to the regular ones and having to do that over and over, especially if you're lost. But the C buttons was cool because you can have the bomb, the sling, whatever it was, you can have multiple things at one time. So I think they thought about the remote controller a lot when they made this game. So yeah, you playing on a Switch is kind of that's not
Yeah,
really their
my
fault.
bad. I
Yeah.
actually don't own a N64 version of the game.
Wait, I thought you were a
Um,
Nintendo guy.
Rich Tendo.
Yeah, but he said in the last video, I'm a Nintendo guy.
He
I
is.
was
Look behind him.
pretending
Look
to
at
be
it.
frozen.
I
Look at all
mean, I'm
those
not even a Nintendo
games.
guy, and I have this.
So also, you're the guy who just likes to say, "I'm not a Nintendo guy and I have this." I don't care
Xbox
what you
is the
have. Okay,
best.
I don't care. Yeah,
What
yeah,
what
Xbox
what
fam.
what
Yeah,
kind of guy is Brad? All digital?
Brad's
I
PC all
Oh,
day.
PC Brad. Yeah.
no, I think Xbox is where I lean. I'm not a big fan of where
You
things are
think with
heading right
your
now,
gamer
but
score through the roof?
mm,
I
mm,
look. It's funny you say that. I'll look and I'll see like he'll have more than me. I'm
mm.
like, wait a minute. I'll look and I can see you play the exact game I play. He'll go and
Yeah.
see what I play and go and
Well, to be
Okay,
fair,
so okay,
don't you guys go and
before
buy the
this even keeps going.
99
Okay,
cent
so
game and get the 1,000 gamer score in 2 minutes?
no,
man,
so don't get me wrong. I will look up what
I
Jared
know he
plays.
does. I know
Okay,
he
and
does.
let's say because okay, here's the way I think about it, and this is going off on a tangent now. I have had a high gamer score for years.
Okay.
Now I don't have as many time. I don't have a lot of time to play the game. We're all older. We really don't. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll go in and I like to keep a 100,000
Oh
gamer
yeah.
score
I
buffer.
noticed that. I
So
noticed
if
that.
Jared, if Jared here, if you want to play with him on Xbox, it's Sergeant Mangle.
Oh yeah. Nobody
Um,
cares. Nobody wants to play with him.
if if he starts getting close to that, I go okay, and I'll go through activity over the last 30 days and I'll see what he
That's,
played. And I'm like, if he hammered it out, I'm gonna do the same thing. Got to keep that buffer.
So
that's
how much
And
ridiculous.
money
look
do
at
you guys spend in a
do not
month on
do
these
not
games?
get
So
in an arms
no.
race with me
Oh
because I
yeah.
Well, it's funny you tell him
Honestly,
that. It's funny you tell him that because all I do is I'll get like 500 gamer score more than him in a month. There's maybe 3 hours left. All of a
no.
sudden he beats me, and then he'll text me, "Don't start an arms race, bro.
Okay.
You won't
yeah,
win." And
you
it's
know
like,
what's
bro, you're picking on the guy who has 40,000 gamer score. Like
yeah,
you're not
well,
tough.
and here's what I would say too is obviously that's dialed back over the years. To be honest, what I've been playing most recently, and I know this is not part of this video, but Jared, you had me playing that My Time at Sandrock,
hmm
which is so much better than the Porsche one.
Oh,
They've
it's
added
amazing
so
game. Yeah.
many things to it. I even got the online version in the hopes we'd play, and then we're just our schedules are different, so we haven't. But yeah, anyways,
But to your
we
point, Brad, I
yeah,
think the
we're on a tangent
N64
now.
when I played it on the N64, I don't recall thinking, "Oh, the controls suck." You know what I mean?
No, yeah,
I think playing any game now that isn't dual joystick and kind of on an Xbox controller that I'm used to using. That's the other thing. This is just talk about a tangent, a little bit tied in, but I can't stand the way Nintendo has B and A swapped.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
so
it's
weird.
used to
odd.
playing Xbox
Yeah,
and PlayStation and well, mainly Xbox, but and then I'll be hitting B and I'm trying to hit, and it's just that frustrates me. And I get it, Nintendo, you were the first ones. Maybe we screwed up. I think the A should be where it is on the Xbox controller. Uh, but that was frustrating me more than anything. I'd end up, doing stupid stuff with
well,
that. So,
in regards to that, like if you think about when Dreamcast came out and then Xbox came out after, their button layout's the same. Two out number one. Sorry. Um,
well, even
so
PlayStation, right? X is their main button,
well, I'm
and
Yeah.
just saying
X
it
is
in the
on that.
fact that like you have A, B, like the Dreamcast control and Xbox, like the way they're laid out is basically identical. And then I could be wrong, and if you are watching this video and you know I'm wrong, please comment. I do remember Halo being the first game that kind of made right trigger shoots, right? Left trigger did like an action button, and it was the two joystick. I could be wrong because before that, I remember it was like Perfect Dark and GoldenEye, even Resident Evil 4 where it was
Yeah,
just
it's
one
horrible now.
joystick did everything and it was really weird. And I remember, like I said, I could be wrong. It could have been like actually no, Time Splitters came after, but it could have been Halo was the first one where it was two joysticks. This did your X or Y axis, whatever. They both controlled one aspect of it, and now it's. I feel like I don't want to say kids because it makes it sound like we're not still relatively young, but I feel like this modern generation, it's like you can hand me a remote and right trigger is going to shoot, right, left trigger is going to aim, and these two thumbsticks are going to be the same axis, right? Whether you want them inverted, what that's a whole other conversation. But I feel like everything is so refined now, and there's only so
Speaking
much you
of
can go.
speaking of inverted though, on when you guys are playing
Mine
and you
was
were
inverted.
shooting. It was inverted, right?
It was
never
inverted.
asked
When you
us.
take the slingshot out, I was like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
what the?
yeah.
Yeah.
That was wonky a bit, but where
See,
do
I
we want to go with
disagree.
this? What
The
do we
thing
got?
is, what you said earlier, I'm gonna go back to what you said.
Yeah.
I disagree with you. I think this Zelda is better. The new Zeldas, I don't even care for. I don't
There's
like
only
the way the
one
Well,
better.
weapon breaks. You
I'm
got to
not I'm
do a
not trying to
million
be
times,
rude. I'm
million
not trying
times.
to cut you off, but you haven't played them.
Listen, listen,
And so I'm
listen.
not trying to
Richard, Richard, Richard,
disrespect you,
Richard,
but
Richard,
don't
Richard,
come
Richard,
at
Richard,
me with
Richard,
that
Richard, Richard,
bullshit.
Richard,
Okay?
Richard, Richard. When you pick up a weapon
Listen with
and
that.
your weapons keep breaking,
Oh, uh-huh.
it's stupid, dude. It
Is
is
it?
Zelda. He has a sword. Okay,
Do you like
Link
Resident
has a sword.
Evil when you need to put stupid stuff in your little briefcase that you can
What does that have to
fit?
do with anything?
I'm just saying, do you like it or not?
It has nothing to do with it. I'm
What
talking
does that
about.
have to do with
Listen,
it?
listen, listen.
What does that mean, Brad? You know that
Zelda.
I just kicked my camera. Brad, you
No,
know
no,
that's a legitimate point.
no. It's not
You
because
have your
Zelda's
little
supposed to.
you can only use so much sprays
So
because
let
it
me
only
let
fits
me
in your
let me be the moderator.
attaché.
Let me be the
No, no, no.
It
moderator
only
here.
fits in your
So
attaché. You don't care about that.
let
No,
me
You
that's
don't
let
care
not
when you
me
run out
even
of
the same
ammo.
thing. Not the same thing. You do run out of
Idiot.
ammo.
All right, so let me be like in between here is because I understand exactly what Jared's saying because I probably lean more Jared's way than your way.
He's an idiot.
But the reason why I lean that way is that Zelda to me has always been one type of game. And it feels like, even though this Ocarina of Time, we just praised it, right? Like it felt like it was so open world. It was this, it was that. Zelda has always felt like it was supposed to be designed to be more linear and it was do your puzzles, which to be honest, even the modern Zelda games, like they've added little platforming things here and there, but they're very creative with their puzzles. It feels like they were trying to go after other things, like in the most recent one, right? Like you have like this kind of feels like Fortnite, like you're building kind of thing, which is kind of weird. But also comparing it to another game like Resident Evil, where you're like Resident Evil's always had that right, like the whatever you would call it, like the trunk where you put everything and then you
I don't know
save it,
what that would sound like an
I
elephant.
knew what that was. That
save
was
it with
fun.
like an ink ribbon or
Let me
whatever,
finish
right?
point.
Like
Let me finish point.
Of course, you're
so,
gonna say you know what he said. He's on your side.
so for Zelda to kind of go that route feels weird, which is the reason why the best Zelda game, and this has nothing to do with Ocarina of Time now, is Wind Waker, because you had open world, but it was still the linear path
I'm not
there's
gonna
a
sit here.
story behind
Yeah.
it. Obviously, we're talking about Ocarina of Time, but you guys are arguing back and
I'm
forth. They're
not gonna
two
let you
different games.
slander the
And
new
to
ones. Okay?
defend Jared here or Sergeant Mangle on Xbox if you want to play with them,
Nobody wants to play.
that Zelda feels the more modern ones kind of feel like they tried to jump on the trends, which every company does that with every game. I mean, everyone has a battle royale. Call of Duty did it with that. But I am more of a fan of like the Zelda being the old school Zelda games. To be honest, that's why I like the 2D ones, right? Like you mentioned Link to a Past or the original Zelda, Zelda 2, like
Well,
obviously
personally, the ones that I
Majora's Mask,
enjoy,
right?
the
Like,
ones
yeah.
that I enjoy the most, uh, sometimes, what's
But
the one that
weapon
came out?
degrading systems in a Zelda game just feels
Yeah, it's
out
pretty
of
dumb,
place.
yeah.
I think that's what
You're
Jared's
right.
calling
You
it.
should
Yeah.
be able to unlimitedly hit a stick against a wall and
Yeah,
it
it's
never
called the
breaks.
Great Sword, or right? That's what it was called.
Master
It's supposed
Sword?
to be.
First off,
The Master Sword, right?
First off,
Master Sword,
you
yeah.
guys don't even know what you're talking about. Okay, that's the problem
All
here.
right, anyways.
I'm talking to two people. No, no, no. You're not going to cut me off.
You already lost the argument, dude. Just take your beating and
Let's
move
sound
on.
it back in.
What I will say is, controller wise, the newer ones are a million times better. Graphically, obviously, they're a million
Oh,
times
yeah.
better. The story is kind of similar to what they've always been since Ganon, but I think, I mean, if we want to just kind of wrap it up on what we think on
Okay,
this
let
one.
me ask you this question
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, questions. I love
what
that.
what do you think is going to have a longer effect? What down the road, 23 years down the road, what's going to have a bigger effect on gaming and what's going to be remembered more? Ocarina of Time or the newer ones?
Ocarina of Time.
The newer ones, it's not even close.
No, I was going Ocarina of Time.
Ocarina, okay, it's hard. Okay, Ocarina of Time, it was a great game for its day. It really was. When you go back and play it now, and granted we're 20, maybe almost 30 years, 20, 25 years out from when it was made. You know, it's a good game. It's fun. But when you look at kind of what The Legend of Zelda did, like, come on, bro. The newer ones, anyways. Breath of the Wild. Oh, and to be fair, I like Breath of the Wild better than Tears of the Kingdom. I played Breath of the Wild
So
more than anything.
the thing is, I'm going to go with this. I would say Ocarina of Time because after a year or two, does anybody really remember what the difference between the Breath of the Wild and the new one are? They look
That
you
could
put
be
them
more
side
of
by
a
side, they look
generation.
exactly the same.
That could be more of a generation
And I feel
issue.
like, and I
I mean,
could be
wouldn't you
wrong.
say Majora's Mask and
No, there's
Ocarina
a
of Time
no,
are
no, not even close.
Those games are completely different.
No,
I
are
would
you talking
say-
about the way you just said the way they look though?
No, the
Like if
feel
you're
and
talking
everything.
Wind Waker is drastically different than all of them, and I love that one probably more than any of them. But if you're talking about like the way the other one was supposed to be a
I
direct.
could be
Uh,
wrong, and I would have to ask diehard Nintendo fans, but I feel like the new one came out and was popular for when it was out, and people already forgot about it. It's like nobody even talks about it.
Yeah,
The Breath
Breath
of the
of the
Wild they still
Wild.
talk about. I feel like the other one came out and like, oh, it's
well,
great, it sold this and that, and it's just like gone.
Breath of the Wild came out. What
No,
wasn't it?
no,
Launch of the Switch.
yeah,
There's a long
Um,
time between Zelda games too.
yeah.
and so you're seeing something. Also, you were playing it at home. Then you're playing like there was a whole different feel to it because of when it launched. Um, Tears of the Kingdom's a really good game. I didn't like it as much as Breath of the Wild. I didn't play it nearly as much as Breath of the Wild. I didn't even beat it like I beat Breath of the Wild. Uh, but I'm not comparing necessarily Tears of the Kingdom to Ocarina of Time. But again, I digress. If you want
The
to say you won, you can
well,
feel that way.
one thing I would say the reason why Ocarina of Time it would hold up more like in generations is perfect example is like we just mentioned going back and playing it, I was shocked at like, whoa, the graphics, yeah, they're not legendary, but you're sitting there going, the videos or the graphics I get, right? The world is pretty open world. I mean, you could be standing up somewhere and look way out. The draw distance obviously isn't great, but you're sitting there going like, this holds up. The world felt lived in. Like there wasn't something that stood out where I was going, this is trash, right? Even the fighting mechanics are pretty much the Zelda fighting mechanics to this day. Like it's the lock on system, roll, parry, strafe. It's pretty much the same thing. Everyone has a weak point. The puzzles are good, right? So I would say if you look at one, whereas if you took someone who played Breath of the Wild today and took them back, they'd go, yeah, this game has bad graphics, but they'd still have fun. And I think if you took a Zelda player and maybe, like I said, maybe it's more of just a generational thing or maybe like an intelligence span, not intelligence span, but excuse me, attention span, just because games are so like they tell you where to go now. Um, if you took a player from now and you put them to play, or excuse me, back then to play Breath of the Wild, they'd be like, dude, this isn't Zelda. This is just something entirely. It's a good game, but it's just not a Zelda
Yeah, I
game.
don't think anyone would think that. I
Um,
think everything needs to what do you call that?
if one goes in the Smithsonian, it would be Ocarina of Time. It wouldn't
I
be Breath of
I, I
the
don't
Wild.
personally I'd put Wind
None of
Waker
them
in there, but hey,
would.
why would they go in the Smithsonian? Like out of
Well, where is it where they take like things, right? Where they save things like rock and roll songs or certain
Yeah,
like
but I think
movies.
maybe people usually use that like Mount Rushmore, right? Like maybe that's what Mount Rushmore of
Yeah,
games
if you'd have a
of
Mount Rushmore of Zelda games, Breath of the Wild and then Tears of the Kingdom aren't on it.
oh, Breath of the Wild is easily on
No,
there. You're
No,
such a
I'd rather
I
have
fool.
think
the Minish
You are
Ocarina of
Cap.
such a
Time.
fool.
I'd rather have the Minish.
Minish Cap is fire. Don't get me wrong. There are
What's
so
that
many
one?
good
It's like
Zelda
Dynasty
games.
Warriors.
You're talking about Hyrule Warriors, isn't it? Hyrule
Mine's like
Warriors.
Dynasty Warriors. Yeah.
Anyways, we
Um,
went on a really weird tangent
yeah.
there.
I don't even know where we're supposed to go from here.
Okay,
So
how about like little nuanced things that you noticed? Like I mentioned the little fairy and the dude with the dude with the big lips, massive lips, the biggest lips,
Wasn't there
the
the chick
biggest.
with the
Oh yeah, so the fairy, yo,
which fairy?
she's like
there's a fairy you
she's a
go into
little
her like
nude, like in the fairy. Dee doo doo doo
I don't
dee. I
know if
won't
I
do the
captured
song
footage of
because
her either.
it's a legendary one of the most legendary fairy songs that's in like every Zelda. When you go to the fairy and she comes out, and I'm just gonna
Oh
say
yeah, I forgot.
She should put a top on.
she's got some bangers. This is for a kids game. Why is she flopping those things
You
out?
know, you notice that a lot
Very
in
sexualized fairy is the
Japanese
way I'll say it.
culture, I want to say.
Yeah.
It wasn't over the top though. I mean, I wasn't like
Well, they were
gawking
very
over them.
pixelated.
You know
That's
what
the
I
only
mean?
reason why
Maybe
it
when
wasn't
I
over the
was
top.
young. Yeah.
Yeah. If they weren't so
Yeah.
triangular shaped because of the pixels,
Like the
you would have
Laura,
been
like the Tomb Raider ones. They're all
six
like
to
They
me.
pointy.
weren't close to yeah, they weren't close to accurate, I guess. Uh
Large cup. Let's just say
so Jared, I'll throw it to you first.
whoa, so loud.
Wow, you sounded weird there.
Did I? Did I sound
Yeah,
weird?
you found weird.
Um, so after all this said and done, did it meet your expectations? Did it meet the hype, or was it overrated in your head? Just
Are you
because, and
asking me?
let me tell you something real quick. Everything from the past, everyone always has this nostalgia, like that was the greatest, that was the best. Oh my God, those were the good old days. You know what I mean? Right? And
Golden
then
era thinking, yeah.
10 years from now, you're going to think today was the good old days, right? So when you went back and revisited it this week, did it meet your expectations, surpass your expectations? Did it let you down? Go ahead.
I think. Are you asking me if it's smack certified? What you're asking?
I mean, yes,
Yeah.
but in a in a nutshell, like
The
Okay.
is it
2024 way.
Yeah.
if it's Smack certified and why or why not?
I I would say as soon as I turned it on, you know a game is good when as soon as you turn it on, you start remembering everything. Like we covered. Boom. Nailed it right away. Graphics, I think, are pretty good to this day. Imagine them back in the day. You know, you got the iconic music on everything, down to when you get Navi. They're Navi or Navy? Navi?
I think it's
I think it's Navi
Navi.
because like navigation.
Oh, okay. I didn't think about that. As soon as you get Navi, the music plays, and then you go to the tree, and he's telling you like you have to take care of business pretty much, and then it has the music, and he opens his mouth. I mean, gets you like
Yep.
Jack, like you're ready to go slay some stuff. Um, I would definitely say, yeah, absolutely, Smack certified.
So Jared, right now you said you have a copy of the game, right?
I do.
I do.
I don't know why I said it like that. Was weird.
Hang on, I'm gonna see what this game goes for currently.
We're talking about just loose, right? Not in the box.
Yeah, so there's like a
Yeah.
really expensive one. I don't know what that
There's
one
a
is.
gold one. We didn't have the gold one. I think we just had a regular one.
So
We
there's a
had the original, yeah,
yeah,
just
there's a regular one
non-gold.
that goes for like $30, and then I think the gold one goes
Like
for
90.
$76
Okay.
loose. Okay, we're
Yeah.
talking loose. So by you saying Smack certified, you would spend today on the regular gray cart
Hmm.
$40. I think that's
Oh yeah.
reasonable,
For a
right?
game considered one of the best games ever made, definitely best on Nintendo 64. I feel like that's a very, very low price, because
I
you have games like Silent Hill that are not even that great and they're 100 going for 180, 190 now. It's like, come on, dude, really?
yeah, maybe I mean I maybe Silent Hill didn't sell as much. There's
No,
less
it's
of
that's
it.
my
I don't
point
know.
is it's
Yeah.
not a very good game and it's expensive compared to a
I
game
think
that's
that's
considered one
a
of the
lot of
best
that too
ever
is because they
for
lost
that
the source
price.
code.
You have to. What?
So
So
a lot of the Silent Hill is because they don't have the source code.
Yeah,
So they
yeah,
know it can't be remade. So they're like,
yeah.
this is God.
so
So
Brad,
yeah,
your thoughts then? How do you feel about it?
Okay.
Smack certified?
If you're a Nintendo fan, if you're a Zelda fan, and for some reason you haven't played this game, it's absolutely worth every dime you could spend on it. For the simple fact that, like I mentioned, every Zelda game before or after, this game kind of encapsulates a form of that. The fact that there's even kind of like time travel to it, right? Like when you go, and now this is all off memory, but when you grab the sword and you kind of go at it's whatever it is, 5, 10 years into the future, and you see the world destroyed, right? Because like Ganondorf,
yeah.
Hmm.
right? Ganon, I think is like his creature, Ganondorf, human version. He takes over, whatever, right? And the fact that like you think that you're like, what do I do? What do I do? And then you have people in the town, they're like, oh, go back in time. You're like, I can go back in time and be a little kid, right? And there's all these little side quests, little things that you can do that you didn't even realize you could do. The world is expansive. I would just straight up say, and not even to mention, this is the best the music has sounded up until obviously the more modern games. Where if someone could play this on a piano and you would know, oh, that's the fairy song, that's the intro to the game, that's you in the town, or that's you in the little farm area, like that's you, whatever it would be. You're gonna recognize these songs. I think for the simple fact that it holds up. Yeah, buy it. Like, I mean, if you like Zelda, like if you're not a big Zelda person, you're not a big puzzle person, or you're a little younger and you're not into, kind of having to figure things out on your own without looking on Google to give you like a thing or like a guide, then yeah, I mean, don't play it. But you're not a fan of these games. But if you're a Zelda fan and you haven't played Majora's Mask, we haven't even talked about the fact that there's like what is there
Ocarina of
20
Time.
the ocarina, right? There's 20 songs, right? Or 20, there's probably like 10. But like I remember playing this and I remember not ever having to memorize like, oh, how does this song go? Like I just remember knowing them from playing the game. Like there was, oh, I need to play this song to go to nighttime, or I need to play this song to summon somebody, or fast. I think there was a fast travel one as well. Um, like it all just felt. It felt like you were just so encapsulated in the game, and me revisiting it just felt like you mentioned, childhood. So maybe it is a little nostalgic for us, but I would say absolutely. If you're a Zelda fan, you don't have this game. Like the hell are you doing?
You're not a Zelda fan.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel yeah, honestly, if you're a Zelda fan, you haven't played it, you're probably not a Zelda. And I mean, unless you're younger, right, and you
Yeah.
don't have an N64, you
No,
don't have Switch
You're not a
Online
Zelda fan.
expansion pass. But I agree wholeheartedly. I would probably like to get maybe the gold one complete in box. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily need to ever play it again. Uh, I'd be fine if I didn't play it again. There's a lot of other stuff I still have in the backlog that I haven't played. I don't think this requires me to go back. like because it's one of those games where you just have to play it every couple of years.
Mhm.
But it's really fun. It's really good. It definitely takes you back with all those things. And I definitely think it's Smack certified now. Would spend, a decent amount of money having it and adding it to the collection. So I think we're all in agreement there. What else we got here?
What's coming up next week?
Yeah, what
What are we
else are we
doing?
playing here?
What are we doing?
I haven't I mean, you want to just go straight to Majora's Mask? I mean, it'd be
That one, I don't think I
fresh.
have. I would have to go buy it.
And that's going to involve you playing a lot of the game as well, because it is kind of you're playing the same thing over and over. Like you put it this way: if you play Majora's Mask, and not to get into a tangent, but you play Majora's Mask for an hour, you're going to hate it. You play it for 3 days, you're going to love it.
Well, and it's funny because as you say that, playing
I think
Ocarina of
we
Time
rented
for
it,
like
correct? When we
No,
first
we
played
should have
that one,
bought
Majora's.
it.
hang on, that one was gold, right? We
That
had
was
that one
gold.
gold with the
Yeah,
little
and I remember watching you
changing.
and you getting frustrated, going, "What the hell do I do?"
Yeah, yeah.
So
There was a lot of things in that game that pissed me off.
Yeah, if I remember
Uh,
correctly, I didn't like that one as much.
you want to go to Wind Waker then? How about Wind Waker? That's I think
I
we all
do have
have
it
it.
on.
We all love
I
it.
that's
do
been
you,
remastered too, I believe, right?
Yeah, I have it
I
on
have it on
Wii
GameCube.
U. I have
Yeah,
it on GameCube too, but Brad, you have my GameCube. So maybe I bring you the GameCube game and you play it there. I'll play Wii U.
yeah, it's in the closet behind me.
I'm fine with that if you guys are, or you guys can pick something else. I mean,
Let me write that down in my little book here for my next notes.
all right. Uh,
I'll write later.
So you look at you miss 100, or what is it? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky. That he took a shot. He missed.
yeah,
No, I'm
I
literally
don't,
gonna write. I have it right here.
yeah, he's definitely writing. I don't know what.
Wait, see, there's all my
He's gonna
notes from
write
before.
Majora's Mask. You can't remember or Wind Waker. I already
Oh, I get
forgot.
my day,
All right,
get my
so in
memory.
this particular week, just so you guys know when we get into it, and obviously it's probably been playing throughout this video, but uh Rich Tendo or Richard, also known as
Nobody
what is
calls
it?
him
What is it?
that.
I don't
Captain?
even call
What is your
myself
game?
Rich
What is your
Tendo.
gamer tag? Captain Mangle?
Captain Mangle.
Captain Mangle. So it's Sergeant Mangle, Captain Mangle. If you want to play with him, Captain Mangle.
What are
But
you?
if you have an issue with some of the game capture, just know that he was the one that played it this week. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
so
Well,
It
it's
keeps
been
please
to be
comment.
hang
Yeah.
on, to be fair, it's been a while since and it shouldn't be this difficult. Really shouldn't be. Um, but it's been a while since I captured any footage, and it's the first time I've used, I think, my Switch to do so.
Mhm.
And I was having some issues. I ended up getting it to where it's not so skippy or whatever you want to call it. What do you call that when it's like pausing and
It's like a
just
slow
juddery
frame, like
and
a slow
the
frame
frame
rate
rate
on
was
it or
cheeks, I
something.
guess. I
Yeah.
don't know. But yeah, so we captured that. And if it's crap, go ahead and tell us it's crap. I'm not gonna get my feelings hurt.
Hey,
I mean, I'm not
this
asking
is
you to be rude,
this
but
is on the job training right here. We don't know what the hell we're doing.
I don't edit anything, so
yeah.
I really bring nothing to the table.
I mean, you bring some crap takes,
And a
but
notepad.
I don't know. Brad was agreeing with me with that one, so I think
Brad,
you were on the
if Brad agrees with you, is that what you want? You want
wow.
Brad agreeing with?
I
Wow.
mean,
What are so okay, next week we'll do Wind Waker. Anything else you guys want to touch on before we jump off?
So I can play Wind Waker. I bought a brand new control.
Okay.
So I could because the other one was broken.
oh,
Couldn't play
that's right.
Universe
You had the
Studios.
control, the
We tried to
phantom
play
control.
we tried
Yeah.
playing Universe Studios game, which I don't know why you ever would, but didn't
You
work.
said that was Smack certified.
It was Smack certified.
Game was trash.
It was like $10. So I mean it's not a very it's not that
How
you know
long
what
we
I mean.
got on this video, Brad? We like it an hour or something?
It doesn't tell me. You can see Big Ben behind me.
Yeah, what is
Big Ben
That's a fat
face.
head, dude. Get it?
Literally.
okay, so recap. We're playing a GameCube and you're playing on what?
I'll play on Wii U because that's the
Okay.
only version. Well, I have both versions, but Brad has the GameCube. So I'll play
Okay.
Wii U.
I'll have to get a copy of Game.
Yeah, I have a copy. I can probably, if I see you this
I
weekend.
have a copy because you bought me, gave it to
Or we
me.
just record
That
the
thing is like
capture
80.
here.
I think it's like $80.
I mean, it's right behind me.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But nonetheless, so Ocarina of Time, I think we all agree. We all come from a little bit different of a place, but we all tend to agree. Smack certified, worth every penny. So if you don't have it, we recommend getting your hands on it. If you haven't played it, you definitely at least got to play it. Now, there are options. If you didn't want to buy it, you could play on Nintendo Switch Online plus the expansion pack. I want to say it's like $70 or something for the year
Pretty.
for a family membership. Um, but there's tons of games on there. You can Sega Genesis, there's a N64, NES, SNES, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance. So a ton of games you
Hey,
get to play on
work
there
for
for a year.
Nintendo?
I
What
know
the
what's
hell is
going
Uh,
on
happening?
here.
no, I'm just letting you know that's possible to play it that way. And there's other things you can play too. Heck, you're even gonna be able to play Majora's Mask on there. You know,
That's true.
so it gives you 1 year to beat both of those games for 70
And
bucks.
we'll wrap it up with this. In the comment section, let me know. Does that shopkeeper have some big ass lips or not? Please let me know. Am I losing my mind? Maybe
I don't remember
you know,
them.
I
I
was.
don't
It
remember 'em.
was really late, and I might have been 34 beers deep. Who has no idea? I
Jesus.
mean,
But also in the comments, let us know what you think. If you have played it, would you recommend it? Is it Smack certified?
would you
And let
revisit it?
us,
Yeah.
yeah, is it worth your time? I don't have anything else. Brad, Jared, you got anything?
No.
No,
You
just
want to
stay
send
up.
it? You want
Stay
to
up,
send it
fam.
on its way? Stay up, fam. Is so. Maybe you finish this video then. You finish it the way you want to
How
finish
about
it. I'll do
this?
next week. Jared
If you
can.
liked what you saw, hit like. Please subscribe. If you didn't, then let us know where we can improve. Other than that, we'll see you next time. Peace.